The keys felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked the door to my childhood home. My sister Emily said this would be the last time. I could still hear her smug laughter from earlier when she waved the legal papers in my face, papers that gave her everything. My name is Alexandra Chin, and I never thought I'd be facing homelessness, especially not because of my own sister. But here I was, standing in my father's study, surrounded by memories of the man who taught me everything about business except how to protect myself from family. "You have until Friday to leave," Emily had said, her voice full of arrogance. "I'm selling the house, and everything inside is mine now." Funny how that worked out, huh? Funny wasn't the word I'd use. Just 3 weeks after Dad's funeral, Emily somehow came up with a will that gave her everything: the house, the business, the investments. The timing was suspicious, but the documents looked real, and Emily had always been good at getting what she wanted. I ran my fingers over Dad's desk, remembering how I used to watch him work when I was a teenager. While Emily was out partying in college, I was here, learning how to run the family business. Dad had built our import-export company from nothing, and I spent the last 10 years helping him grow it. "You're just like me, Alex," he used to say with pride. "Success isn't about quick wins. It's about playing the long game." I smiled at that thought, even as I heard Emily's high heels clicking toward the study. "Still here?" she asked, leaning against the door. "I told you to start packing. The new owners want to see the place next week." I looked at her expensive outfit, knowing she cared more about appearances than anything else. But Dad taught me that true success wasn't about what you showed off. It was about what you knew. Just grabbing a few personal things, I said, picking up a framed photo of Dad and me from my college graduation. Emily hadn't come to the ceremony. She'd said she had a spa appointment. "Personal things?" Emily scoffed. "Everything in this house belongs to me now. Even the photos, the furniture, and Dad's old business journals. Though why you want those boring books is beyond me." I placed the photo back on the desk, noticing how Emily's smile faded slightly. She wanted me to beg, to argue, to break down. But I stayed calm, and that confused her. "You know, Emily," I said, moving toward Dad's bookshelf, "he always told me the most valuable things in life aren't always the most obvious." She rolled her eyes. "Spare me the wisdom, Alex. You're broke, I'm rich. That's all that matters." But she was wrong. She had no idea what Dad had truly left me. The lessons, the business connections, and the secret accounts in Hong Kong that only I knew about. Dad had always been 10 steps ahead, and he taught me to be the same. "You're right," I said. "I should start packing." Emily's confident smirk faltered for a second, as if she was expecting more of a fight. "That's right," she said quickly. "And don't try to take anything valuable. I've already made a list of what's worth selling." I nodded, picking up a small box. "Of course. By the way, what are you doing with Dad's business? It's not something you can run without experience." She waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, I'm selling that too. A big corporation made an offer. They'll probably tear it apart, but who cares? The money will be amazing." It hurt to hear her talk about Dad's company like that, but I kept my face blank. "I see. Well, good luck with that." I walked past her, feeling her eyes on me. She was trying to figure out why I wasn't more upset. She expected me to fight, but Dad taught me better. Sometimes when people think they've won, that's when they're the weakest. And Emily had overlooked something important. In my old bedroom, I set the box down. The room still looked the same, filled with my academic awards and business trophies, while Emily's childhood room had been covered in boy band posters. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, Dad's old business partner. "Everything is in place. Ready when you are." I smiled, thinking about how Emily would react when she realized what was really happening. Dad always said that business was like chess. You had to think ahead. Emily had been too focused on grabbing the obvious things, the house, the cars, the money. But she completely missed the real prize. From downstairs, I heard her talking to a real estate agent about selling the house. She had no idea what was coming. Let her go ahead with her plan, I thought. Let her believe she had won. Because in 3 days, when she tried to sub Dad's company, she would learn that the most valuable inheritance isn't always written in a will. Sometimes it's hidden in the lessons a father teaches, the relationships built over years, and the careful planning of a man who knew exactly what he was doing. I picked up my box and walked past Emily, who was still talking about selling the house. As I got into my car and pulled out of the driveway, I glanced in the rearview mirror. She was standing in the doorway, wearing a smug smile. "Enjoy your victory, Em," I muttered. "While it lasts." The next 3 days felt like a slow countdown. I had moved into a small apartment downtown, not the kind of place Emily would ever live in. But location didn't matter. What mattered was that it gave me a perfect view of Dad's company headquarters. That morning, I watched as Emily's red Mercedes pulled into the parking lot. She stepped out in her expensive suit, probably thinking she was about to close a big deal. But she didn't realize Marcus was already inside waiting. My phone buzzed, a message from Linda in accounting. "She's here. Conference room B. Everything's ready." I took a deep breath and adjusted my blazer. Dad's words echoed in my mind. "The best business deals aren't made in boardrooms, Alex. They're made in the quiet moments, in the relationships you build when no one is watching." For years, I had been building those relationships. While Emily was busy showing off her fancy lifestyle, I had been learning everything about the business, getting to know the employees, studying every contract, and most importantly, earning their trust. The elevator dinged as I reached the executive floor. Through the glass walls, I could see Emily sitting in the conference room, tapping her nails on the table. She looked impatient, but she was alone. There was no sign of the corporate buyer she had been bragging about. "Miss Chen," Marcus greeted me with a knowing smile as I arrived. "Ready?" I nodded, holding the folder that contained everything we had been preparing. "Let's do this." Emily's head snapped up as we entered. Her eyes narrowed when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. "This is a private meeting." I sat down across from Emily and smiled. Funny, because as the majority owner of Chen Imports, I have every right to be here. Her face went pale. "What are you talking about?" "The will gave me everything, including the company." Marcus slid a document across the table. "Actually, Miss Chen, your father's will gave you his personal belongings, the house, cars, and money. But the company?" He paused, smiling slightly. "That's a different story." Emily grabbed the paper, her hands shaking as she read. I saw the exact moment she realized the truth. Her confident expression cracked, replaced by shock. This can't be right," she stammered. "Dad gave me 60% of the company's shares 2 years ago," I said calmly. "Right after you told him his business was boring and that you'd rather be a social media influencer. Remember that family dinner?" I saw the memory hit her, how she had laughed at Dad's offer to teach her about the company, calling it a waste of her time. But the buyers," she blurted. "They're coming today." "No, they're not," Marcus said. "The company isn't for sale. In fact, under Alex's leadership, we just secured 3 new contracts that will double revenue this year." Emily's face turned red. "This isn't fair. I'm his daughter too. I deserve." "What exactly do you deserve, Emily?" I interrupted. "You've never worked here. You don't know our employees, our clients, or how the business runs. You only cared about what you could take." She pushed back her chair and stood abruptly. "You planned this. You and Dad always kept me out." "No, Emily," I said, standing too. "You kept yourself out. You were the one who thought Dad's work wasn't important. You were the one who skipped family dinners. You made it clear his legacy didn't matter to you." Her eyes filled with tears, though I couldn't tell if they were from sadness or anger. "So what now? You're just going to take everything?" she asked bitterly. I shook my head. "No, the house and Dad's money are yours. But the company? It stays with someone who actually cares about it." Marcus gathered his papers. "Your office needs to be cleared out by the end of the week, Miss Chen." Emily glared at me. "You think you've won? That you're so clever, just like Dad always said." "This isn't about winning," I said, picking up my things. "It's about protecting what matters, something Dad tried to teach both of us, if you'd ever listened." She stormed out of the room, her heels clicking angrily down the hall. Outside the glass walls, employees hid small smiles. They had all known what was coming. Marcus patted my shoulder. "Your father would be proud, Alex. He always said you were the one who understood what truly mattered." I nodded, looking around the office I had called home for so long. "He taught me that success isn't about what you own. It's about what you build, what you protect, and who you become along the way." A month later, I sat in Dad's old office, now mine, going over reports. The city skyline outside hadn't changed, but everything else had. Emily sold the house. But the buyers backed out when they realized how much work it needed. She had been too busy with her online life to take care of it. The intercom buzzed. "Miss Chin," my assistant Sarah said, "your sister is here. She says it's urgent." I took a deep breath and straightened my papers. "Send her in." Emily looked different. Gone was the expensive outfit. Her hair, once perfectly styled, was now in a simple ponytail. But the biggest change was in her eyes. The arrogance was gone. Instead, she looked almost humble. Emily stood in the doorway. "Alex, can we talk?" I nodded toward the chair across from me. "Of course." She sat down, fidgeting with her purse strap. The room was quiet for a long time. "I sold the house," she finally said. "The money, it's almost gone." She let out a small, bitter laugh. "Turns out, living rich is expensive when you don't have a job." I leaned back in my chair. "What do you want, Emily?" She hesitated. "I've been thinking about Dad, about everything he tried to teach us. I didn't understand it before, but I think I do now." I kept my voice calm. "You got exactly what you wanted, the money, the assets." She shook her head, her eyes shining with tears. "No, I got what I thought I wanted, but sitting alone in that empty house, going through Dad's things, I found his journals." My heart skipped a beat. Those journals had been Dad's most valued possessions, full of business lessons and personal thoughts. "Did you read them?" I asked. She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Every single one. He wrote about how proud he was of you, how much you understood what truly mattered. But the part that hit me the hardest was what he wrote about me." She pulled out a worn leather journal and flipped to a page. He wrote, "Emily has so much potential, if only she could see beyond the surface. Money can be earned and lost, but knowledge, wisdom, and relationships, those are the true measures of wealth." I knew that entry. Dad had written it the night Emily skipped an important client dinner to attend a celebrity party. "He never gave up on you," I said softly. "But I didn't get it," she whispered. "Not until now. And now, I have nothing. No real skills, no purpose. Just an empty bank account and a lot of regrets." I stood up and looked out the window. The city stretched before me, golden in the evening light. Dad had always told me stories about the deals made in these buildings, the lessons he had learned along the way. "You're wrong," I said finally, turning back to her. "You don't have nothing. You have the chance to learn, to grow, to finally understand what Dad was trying to teach us." Emily looked up, a spark of hope in her eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," I said, sitting back down, "that if you're serious about learning, there's a place for you here." Her eyes widened. "You'd give me a job? After everything I did?" "Not give," I corrected her. "Offer. You'll start at the bottom, like I did. No special treatment, no shortcuts. You'll have to prove yourself." "Why would you do that?" she whispered. I pulled out one of Dad's journals and flipped to the last page he wrote before he passed. "Because Dad believed in second chances, he wrote, business is about profit, but family is about growth. The best investment you can make is in people who are ready to change." Emily stood, her hands trembling. "I won't let you down this time." "I know," I said, "because now you understand what you're working for." As we walked out of the office together, I caught our reflection in the glass. Two sisters, finally on the same path, ready to build something that truly mattered. That night, as I locked up, I glanced at Dad's old photo on the wall. "You were right," I whispered. "The long game isn't just about business. It's about giving people time to learn what truly matters." Emily was waiting by the elevator, clutching Dad's journal. As we stepped into the night air together, I realized this was the inheritance Dad had wanted all along, not just the company, but for both his daughters to understand the true value of his legacy. Because sometimes the greatest success isn't about money or power. It's about knowing what's truly worth fighting for.